Well, hello and welcome to this edition of the EV Revolution Show. My name is Kenneth Bokor, your host for episode 101, as I'm reviewing this lovely 2020 model year Volkswagen e-Golf for today's show. Want to first start off by thanking VW Canada for giving me this brand new vehicle. It literally, folks, came off the truck, off the boat, onto the truck to VW headquarters here outside Toronto. It had 20 miles on the odometer, something like 41 kilometers or something like that. So it was literally brand new. They prepped it, called me, said, it's here, come get it. And I scooted over and got it. So I'm very excited to be testing what really is the last hurrah for the VW e-Golf. And that's the theme for this show, the last hurrah. It's a great vehicle. So let me get into more details. Well, as you can see by the pictures, Volkswagen gave me a nice color to drive around it. I'll tell you, folks, it's no problem finding it in a parking lot. It's Ginster or Ginster yellow, depending on how you want to pronounce that word. It's actually a great color. I like it. The rest of my family, not so much, but I think it stands out. It's pretty cool. Anyway, you know, it's been a lot of fun driving this vehicle around for the week. Let me give you some of the specs about it as well. Now, this is the last year for the Volkswagen e-Golf because they have stopped production as they're switching all the plants now over to the ID platform for electrification. Of course, they've already started rolling ID3s from the plant in Zwickau, and they're retooling others to start for volume as well. So this is really the last hurrah, as I mentioned, for the 2020 VW e-Golf. Now, the VW e-Golf is really a Golf electrified. So it's not a ground-up vehicle. It's an existing chassis that has a ton of heritage behind it. Anybody who's driven a VW or knows anybody who's driven a Volkswagen Golf especially will understand that heritage. And it really shows in this car. And I'll get to some of my thoughts about ride and handling and all that stuff later on. But for some of the specs, it does come with a 100 kilowatt electric motor that's powered from a 35.8 kilowatt hour battery pack. So not a super big pack, and that's basically right from the get-go, that's what they've started with. It does produce, though, 134 horsepower, or more importantly, 214 pound-feet of torque to get you up and going. And this car has no problem to get up and go. It's certainly not super fast. It's not going to beat a Tesla Model 3 off the line as an example, but it really will go and get into traffic quite easily. Now, this battery pack has an EPA range of 198 kilometers or 123 miles. So it doesn't sound like a lot, folks. And really, by today's standards now that we're seeing 62, 64, 70, 75, kilowatt hour battery packs and upwards, this is pretty small by comparison. However, I will tell you that in my short time with this, my range has been going all over the place as far as getting well over 200 kilometers of range in just normal city and highway driving, good mixed driving. So, I'll give you a range report at the end of the show when I do my summary because I'm still collecting numbers right now, but I'll let you know how I fared. It has a 7.2 kilowatt onboard charger for AC. Of course, J1772 is standard, but it's a CCS combo, so basically the rest of the world now in that. One of the features the e-Golf has is a heat pump, which is great for cold weather climates. Also, that multi-link rear suspension, man, that makes a difference in actually road handling. And I'll tell you, you'll see that in my driving summary coming up. It has things like hill hold and your standard safety features. You can up the features by incorporating the driver assistant package in this as well. Now, as you can see by the exterior, it's got 16-inch aerodynamic wheels. These are standard on the vehicle, but they certainly grip the road extremely well. I love that it's a full LED package across the board. The turn signals, the headlights, tail lights, rear lights, everything is LED. I like that they didn't cheap out on that. That's one thing that is a big check mark for me. It's a little thing, but it's a big mark. Also has things like dynamic headlights with cornering lights, even other niceties like heated washer nozzles, heated windshields. I know that you can get that on some cars with some winter packages, but this is standard. LED headlights, of course, as I mentioned, with adaptive front light systems, rain sensing wipers, all that kind of good stuff. So some higher end features really that you would see on a more luxurious vehicle on the e-Golf. Cargo space is pretty good for this package. Again, it's not huge. It's got 23 cubic foot with the seats up, 651 liters with the seats up, and of course you can put them down and expand that out. From an interior perspective, as you can see by the shots, it's very nicely equipped. You know, the big takeaway for me on this is the fit and finish. It's a very high quality interior. It's one of the things I loved about the e-Golf when I first looked at it back in 2018. I just loved the interior of this vehicle, and it's got, you know, pretty well everything outfit. It's got 8-way manually adjustable front seats with a power recline, 60/40 force and all with rear center armrest and pass through and all the other stuff as well. Nicely inserts, ambient lighting, all this kind of cool stuff. Heated front seats as well. That's standard on that, which is great for the winter times. And again, full LED package on all the interior lights. Now there are some options you can get on this, not many. There's a leatherette package, which gives you leatherette seating and door inserts. The technology packages, things like a bigger screen, because it does come standard with, I believe, an 8-inch screen. This touch screen, this bumps it up to a 9.2 with some other features like range 360. You get some SD card slots, sat nav, things like that with the technology package. This car has it all. Adaptive cruise and your additional safety features come with that: blind spot monitoring, front assist, emergency braking, light assist, of course, your automatic high beam. It has a multifunction camera for the front, the single camera for keeping the adaptive cruise control, which actually works very well. I'm going to show you how that works in my upcoming driving video at the later part of this show. A pedestrian monitoring, of course, and the digital cockpit is a nice upgrade that comes with the technology package, because you can customize the binnacle to show many different types of 3 or 4 different layouts, as well as some of the options within that. All right, let me take you into the car. Let me go for a quick drive, and I'll talk about some of my driving impressions for the few days that I've been booting this thing around the GTA. All right, I'll give you my driving impressions after driving for a few days on this model year 2020 Volkswagen e-Golf. I mean, what can I say? The Golf is, the Volkswagen products drive like they're on rails. They really do. I've owned a couple in my past lives, and they've always been phenomenal driving machines, and this is no exception. It really handles the road excellent. Even with the extra weight of the battery pack and the eco-type tires, I guess, they do stick rather well. It takes turns really tight, and it just really handles the road, you know, beyond, I would say, what I would think it would, being that it would be an economical EV. So that, you know, that's kind of the thing that stands out about the e-Golf. The fit and finish, the quality, all that kind of stuff. I mean, no squeaks, rattles. You know, as I mentioned, this is a brand new vehicle. Literally had 20 miles on it, like 40 kilometers or something like that, right off the boat, off the truck into VW, and they prepped it, gave it to me. So I'm really the first one driving it, breaking it in. And it's just a phenomenal driving experience. It has great torque. I mean, you know, it's not going to beat a Tesla off the line, any model of the Tesla, but it's going to have more than enough get up and go. It just grips the road. It really does. Handles the bumps very well. Suspension's good. The noise level is relatively quiet. You know, I clocked about 79 decibels at 100 kilometers per hour on the highway, my usual route that I take, so a little bit higher than a couple of the others, but not much. Again, that could be the tires too. Tires all have a significant impact on sound quality, but you know, I mean, the driving characteristics of this vehicle really speak for itself. You know, I'm taking it down this nice 2-lane country road, my favorite drive up the Bell Fountain, as a lot of local viewers know the route. It's windy, it's hilly, you know, it's got nice turns. Can't go super fast on it, and this car just grips like it's on rails, and you'll probably hear me say that a few times. As far as, you know, other amenities and attributes to this vehicle, it's very comfortable to drive. Again, I was able to find a seating position quite easily. The controls take a little bit of time to get used to. It's typical German engineering, where, you know, they're built really well, but where they lay out controls and buttons and what's for what, it's a little bit like deciphering hieroglyphics sometimes, so you have to kind of play with it. You have to look at it. I actually cracked open, believe it or not, the owner's manual to look up a couple of things just to see where they were, what the functions were. You know, I went through all the menus and that kind of stuff, trying to look for stuff just to make sure that I set this up accordingly. And, you know, made sure I take full advantage of all the benefits that this vehicle offers. So, you know, it has a lot of benefits. I've got a little video that I'll insert here about the lane keeping and the adaptive cruise. So watch this. All right, so as you saw, it's okay. Again, it's amazing how different these systems are when you compare them to other vehicles. So it's okay, it does the job. The adaptive cruise is really well. I'm not a big fan of the lane assist. We get kind of spoiled when you have cars like Tesla and some of the other brands, the luxury brands that really do it well. Even, Nissan's ProPilot, and I've said it many times, it's really good. Even just 1.0, as far as lane keeping goes, it does an excellent job. It actually goes beyond what I would expect it to do. So this does pretty good. But I mean, the number one thing that stands out is the ride quality. Battery range is okay. It's been, again, I think since this is brand new, it's still kind of trying to figure it out. Because I started with more range yesterday morning after a night of charging than I did even when I picked it up, and it took a long time to go down. It was actually going up as I went to work. I gained mileage as I went to work. So I'll give you a full breakdown on the range at the near the end there when I put a chart together. So I'm still kind of deciphering that, but definitely it's been great so far, and I do understand the limits of this vehicle being a smaller battery and being heavier. It's rated at about 200 or so kilometers, and I could see that that's probably fairly consistent as an overall average. So not going to get a high range, but as far as driving pleasures on this vehicle, it speaks for itself. The VW, they build a solid product. No matter what people may think about them, it's solid. The doors are heavy, they clunk, they make a nice thud when you close them. Everything works well. Now, in saying that though, I did have a small glitch when I first got into the vehicle and I paired my cell phone with it. It paired, but it just kind of had this round kind of thing going, saying waiting, pairing or something. Now, it basically was not allowing me to do a lot of other functions on the display. And it did that for about an hour and a half or so until I actually shut the car off. Till I got to my destination, I shut the car off and turned it back on, and then that went away. So there's still a little bit of hiccups with the software possibly on this. Now, Volkswagen may not have had an opportunity to update the software. I think they rushed to get this ready for me because they literally just got it in because it might be an older version. So that could be part of it. If there are owners out there, I'd love to hear from you on eGolf and how this software has handled over time. This does have all the driver assist packages, and I believe the technology packages. So it's very well equipped. The only thing it doesn't have really is a power sunroof, and I don't think that that's available on these. So summary of driving experience, it loves going through these kind of roads. It thinks it's back home in Germany going through the Black Forest. But it in any situation handles well. As far as driving experience go, this is just an awesome vehicle to drive. All right, so here comes the pricing options for this, and it is, as I mentioned, a well-equipped vehicle that has a lot of good things for it. It's not cheap from a Canadian price point. It's around the 39,000 and change, just under 40,000, and it goes up to about 45, 46,000. These are before the $5,000 federal incentives. Now, the big kicker about the eGolf is it's got limited availability. So basically what you can find in at least Canadian inventories is what's there. There's no more vehicles coming in that I was told into Canada. So let me talk about some of the pros and cons on the 2020 model year eGolf. Really the biggest pro that I have on this vehicle is the fit, finish, and the build quality. It is a solid vehicle. You close the doors, they thud. So that's really the number one thing that sticks out. On top of that, once you get behind the wheel and get driving, is the ride and the handling quality. It is, folks, outstanding. I know that there's performance Teslas and other vehicles that are out there that handle really well, but this thing, I think it's underrated in the handling. It is superb. Now, other top marks is the sound system. It's got a great sound system, blew my ears away. In fact, I was deaf for like the next day for half the morning because I was rocking away to some tunes. And the rear camera, it's a cool little feature that the rear camera hides away, which is nice because if you have a rear camera, a lot of cars that's exposed, you'll know that you got to go around and wipe this thing off. And last on my list of pros, it's a small thing, but I think it's really important, is the parking sensors. I think all cars should come standard with parking sensors. So it doesn't have a front camera, but it does have sensors all around, which is great for parking and navigating around tight spots. Now, some small cons on this. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the battery size. It is a little small compared to today's stream, but again, this is the last hurrah year for the eGolf, so it is what it is. VW hasn't changed it for this model year. And there is no active thermal management on this battery. It doesn't seem to be any issues as far as heat issues with these type of battery cells. It's a different battery manufacturer that they use, and they actually seem to sustain their charging fairly consistently. The other little con, I guess, on this was the infotainment system. Even though it's a nice big screen, it's got all touch controls, there's a lot you can do with it. It was glitchy for me, and it has been glitchy a couple. Also on the technology side is the park assist. I watched some videos, I went to a parking lot, I tried, with cars, without cars, with the lines, all this stuff. I tried different ways to figure out the park assist, and just to kind of go into a shopping mall space, I couldn't get that function to work properly. But maybe I didn't give it enough time or patience. I'm sure it works because I've seen the videos and I know owners that have that, but I just found that it was a little clunky in what it does. I would just assume park the car, but for those who aren't very good at parking or find a little timid in doing that, this will be a great feature for you. And the last big con on this car is really availability. It's a shame that this is the last model year for it, because it is a fantastic car from an overall package and what you get from the refinement, from the handling, and all the other points that I mentioned. It's a great vehicle. Yes, I would love for this to have 300 miles of range, or even 200 miles of range, let's say up from 123, but it doesn't. But for what you get, and I know that you can squeak more than the EPA, it's a great vehicle. So it's too bad that this is the last year and the availability is limited. All right, well, that's it for my review here of the 2020 model year Volkswagen e-Golf. It's a fantastic vehicle if you can find one, and if it's of interest to you, if it meets your daily driving needs from an EV perspective, get it. It's a fantastic vehicle. I really hope that the ID3s and the ID4s, well, ID4 is going to be a bit more SUV-ish, but the ID3, if ever something like that comes to North America, I really hope it handles as well as the e-Golf, because by far, you get behind the wheel of this, you'll feel and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Again, a big thanks to VW Canada for giving me this brand new test vehicle to enjoy for the week, and I really hope you enjoy this review. All right, that's it for this episode of the EV Revolution Show, episode 101. Thanks very much for tuning in so I can educate minds one tailpipe at a time. Thank you everybody who watches on YouTube for subscribing, liking, putting in your comments, all that kind of stuff. If you have not subscribed, please do. It's very important for me if you can subscribe. Won't harass you with emails and stuff. Love to hear your comments, especially if you're an e-Golf owner. Love to hear your real life situations with this vehicle. Of course, a humble thanks to my Patreon supporters. Again, thank you very much for supporting me and to do what I do. It means a lot, especially during these trying times. I know how tough it is out there. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. You know who you are, and the names are at the end of this show. Of course, my quick PSA, please stay safe, follow your local public health guidelines. Let's get through this. It's going to take a while, folks, so please do the things you need to do. I won't get into it. Be smart about it and stay safe. Again, thanks for tuning in. Please, everybody, continue to watch the electrification space. It's exciting times from that. And everybody, again, stay safe. And until the next time, I'll see you when I see you. Take care. Bye-bye.